Everyone. The copy of the Open Meetings Act is located outside and also on our website, and there is an automatic external defibrillator available on the back wall of the legislative chambers. Please stand for the presentation of the colors and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Forward, march. Mark time, march. Honor guard, halt. Ready. Post. Present. Halt. I pledge allegiance Order, off. Ready, base. Forward, march.
Thank you. This morning, we're going to begin with the Douglas County Board of Commissioners and go into some recognition and proclamations. So roll call, please.
Commissioner Boyle? Here. Commissioner Kavanaugh? Here. Commissioner Friend?
Here.
Commissioner Garcia? Here. Commissioner Morgan?
Here.
Commissioner Rogers?
Here.
Madam Chair.
Present. Recognition and proclamations. The first is a resolution honoring the life and contributions of Sarah Zimmerman at the Department of Corrections. And I would ask our director, Mr. Mike Myers, and the family of Sarah to please come forward.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Michael Myers, Director of Corrections for Douglas County. Before I start reading the resolution, as you know, we have two resolutions today for the very both somber purposes. And I thought it was important to point out that Sarah and Ellen started working for us on the exact same day over 15 years ago, and they were very close friends. And there's something sadly ironic about doing this together for both of them today, but when we talked to the families, it seemed like, given the nature of their friendship over the years, it was an appropriate thing to do. Whereas, in remembrance of Correctional Officer 2, Sarah Zimmerman, Douglas County recognizes that Sarah was a valued member of the Department of Corrections, having served the citizens of Douglas County for 15 years. And whereas Douglas County recognizes that Sarah Zimmerman contributed to the Department of Corrections in a variety of ways, including as an officer in the Reentry Assistance Program, who also assisted with quickly implementing virtual court at the onset of the pandemic. And whereas Douglas County recognizes Sarah Zimmerman cared deeply for her fellow officers, evidenced by her organizing and giving of her time to hold fundraisers for officers facing extreme need. And whereas Douglas County recognizes Sarah Zimmerman changed the lives of countless Douglas County citizens by sharing her wisdom, compassion, accountability, advocacy, and encouragement with Reentry Assistance Program participants. And whereas Douglas County, the Department of Corrections, and especially community corrections, will be forever changed for the better by Sarah Zimmerman's actions, but will profoundly miss her presence. Whereas Douglas County and the Department of Corrections extends condolences to Sarah Zimmerman's family and friends. Now therefore be it resolved by this Board of Commissioners, hereby recognizes the life and contributions of Correctional Officer 2, Sarah Zimmerman, dated this 26th day of April, 2022.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Second.
Please vote. Just come in front here, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I caught the second from Commissioner Rogers, but who made the motion? Kavanaugh?
Next is a resolution honoring the life and contributions of Ellen Condon Bergman at the Department of Corrections. Could I ask her family to please come forward?
Whereas in remembrance of Correctional Officer 2, Ellen Condon Bergman, Douglas County recognizes that Ellen was a valued member of the Department of Corrections, having served the citizens of Douglas County for nearly 15 years. And whereas Douglas County recognizes Ellen Condon Bergman was an officer who was trained in many capacities, making her a highly valuable and versatile employee. And whereas Douglas County recognizes Ellen Condon Bergman cared deeply for her fellow officers, evidenced by her work to organize food trucks to serve our staff, her many efforts to help others in need, and by her role as chaplain of the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 8, which included supporting her fellow officers during a period of time where 5 staff members died within 1 year. And whereas Douglas County and the Department of Corrections will be forever changed for the better by Ellen Condon Bergman's actions and will profoundly miss her presence. And whereas Douglas County and the Department of Corrections extends condolences to Ellen Condon Bergman's family and friends. And now therefore be it resolved by this Board of Commissioners that hereby recognizes the life and contributions of Correctional Officer 2 and former Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 8 chaplain Ellen Condon Bergman, dated this 26th day of April, 2022.
Do we have a motion to approve? Please vote.
Roger. Oh, okay. Motions passed for both the resolutions honoring Sarah Zimmerman and Ellen Condon Bergman 7-0.
I would now ask the family of Brad Ashford to come forward, please. Good morning.
Good morning.
I hope I can make it through this. You might have to take over. Whereas Brad Ashford, an icon in Douglas County politics, died on April 19, 2022, at the age of 72, after a lengthy battle with brain cancer. And whereas Brad Ashford served as a judge on the state of Nebraska's Worker Compensation Court, and whereas Brad Ashford was 4 times elected to the Nebraska legislature, serving 2 different 8-year stints. And whereas in 2014, he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. And whereas Brad Ashford served on the Board of Directors for the Omaha Housing Authority and the Metropolitan Entertainment and Convention Authority, also known as MECA. And whereas Brad Ashford had a passion for public service and for making his community the best it can be. And he worked cooperatively and collaboratively with all of those of all political persuasions. And whereas Brad will be greatly missed by the members of this board and the entire Douglas County community. Now therefore be it resolved by this Board of County Commissioners, Douglas County, Nebraska, that this board hereby expresses its sincerest condolences to the family of Brad Ashford upon his untimely passing, dated this 26th day of April, 2022. Could I get a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Please vote. And at this time, I would ask Ann if you'd like to say anything.
We thank you. We know Brad would be thrilled. He had the opportunity to work with each of you and valued his relationships with each of you. So thank you for the resolution.
Anyone else wanting to say a few words? Commissioner Kavanaugh?
Yeah, I've known Brad since high school, and he was a good friend and a good man, and my heart goes out to you. I just wanted to wish him, as a fellow Irishman, safe home, and God bless.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Friend?
Hi, you guys. I want to tell a quick story, and I think Ann's heard it. When I was in the legislature with Brad was a friend, and of course, and one time he was in charge of the Judiciary Committee, and he was bringing a bill out that I didn't want out on the floor, and and I went up to him and I said, Brad, this is the type of person Brad was. And I said, Brad, I don't want this out on the floor. And he goes, well, Mike, there's really, not a whole lot you can do about it. I'm going to bring it out to the floor. And I said, well, no, there is something I can do about it. And I threw a motion up to send the bill back to committee, which is kind of rough. I mean, that means you're going to sabotage the bill. And Brad got up about 5 minutes later and he just lambasted me. He said, this is unprecedented. It's never happened in the history of the legislature. And I got up after that and I said, Brad, it happened to me 25 minutes ago. I'm just doing what everybody else does. So the punchline is, for 10 straight days, Brad, we were having coffee one day on about the 8th day, and Brad apologized to me for like 10 straight days. I shouldn't have done that on the record. Mike, I'm so sorry. So about the 10th day, I go, Brad, look, if you apologize to me again, the next time I see anything that you do, I'm going to just bracket it. And he started laughing. Brad was the kindest person, one of the kindest people I ever served with, and he was my friend. And I'm sorry.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Morgan?
I just want to compliment you on everything that you've handled. I know he'd be very proud. I think, John, you made some, is it John?
Tom.
Tom.
Youngest, yeah.
Now, were you born on the same day as Brad was in the hospital?
That's John.
No, that's
my
John.
oldest,
That's
yeah.
your older brother?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that story was something that Brad was a big jogger and out, and it was a very cold day, and he about to have the sun, and sure enough, he broke his leg and had a metal rod put in his leg. That was Brad.
Yep.
And I think that bumper sticker you have, all of us should have that soak in, that serve in public office or just serve the public or in public, period. Be like Brad, 1949 to 2022. Because Brad worked with everyone. It didn't matter what party you were affiliated with or what it was. He always tried to come together and work with everyone. And we need to be like Brad and work together and have respect for everyone. And I really admired that quality. Thank you for being.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rogers?
Again, I want to give my condolences, but to build from what PJ said, I mean, you know, Brad was a Democrat, Republican, independent. He went back to being a Democrat. So I think it's just ironic in his passing that when you need that spirit now more than ever, that he was passed untimely. But I think trying to uphold that spirit in these times would be a good way to remember him. But the other thing, you know, even though I've personally known him for 20 years, the last 10 to 12 have been just having the privilege to work with him on the juvenile justice stuff. And I hope that you all, I hope we find a way to honor him there. But I hope when you all at least come downtown and you see that building, that he's the start of that building and everything that came to some degree, because the whole movement needed him to happen with him as the as the judiciary chair. And from Jump Street, he was there. And so if not physically, symbolically, memorially, he will be alive in that building across the street. So our condolences are with you on that, and I will miss him great.
Commissioner Boyle?
Of course, the Ashfords and the Boyles go way, way back. And so, and as many of you know, I've lost both my parents in the last 3 years in a very public way. So I really have empathy for that. At the same time, I want to acknowledge the families of our corrections officers who passed away too. Without saying too much, I just want to read a little excerpt that kind of got me through a lot of things. Like a year after Mom died, that kind of gave me the motivation, to be honest, to run for office when I had zero intention to do so, to be honest with you. So bear with me, regardless of your political leanings, understand the content of this. So during Biden's speech in front of the DNC accepting the Democratic nomination for 2020 president, he said this. He said, "I know how it feels to lose someone you love. I know that deep black hole opens up in your chest, that you feel your whole being is sucked into it. I know how mean and cruel and unfair life can be sometimes. But I've learned two things. First, your loved ones may have left this earth, but they never leave your heart. They will always be with you. And second, I found the best way through pain and loss and grief is to find purpose. There will come a day, I promise you, when the thought of your loved one brings a smile to your lips before it brings a tear to your eye. It will happen. My prayer for you is that day will come sooner rather than later." So I appreciate those corrections officers. I appreciate everything you've done to sacrifice for us, for the citizens of Douglas County. We recognize it. We honor that. And also for Ann and Tom, just thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. You know, I met Brad when I was working with the 166 individuals that came here from Katrina. I knew Brad for a long time, but never worked intimately with him until that time, and he was at that time at OHA, and we were trying to find housing for those that were going to stay. And he used to joke because he'd say, I'd see my phone and it would say, Commissioner Marion Borges, and I would go, well, here comes another one. But he did a spectacular job in not only that, but as Commissioner Rogers said, in our juvenile issues. And he was a champion of all champions. And of course, with the VA work that he did, getting that in place. So he was just an all-around great, nice guy. And he will be sorely missed, but I hope that we will be able to keep in touch with you as we go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, and I too want to thank the families of the correctional officers for being here as well. You know, it is really a very special day to honor those who have served Douglas County so well for a number of years, and we thank all of you for giving us your loved ones for the time that we had them. So thank you very much. And you can all, you don't have to stay for the remainder of the meeting if you don't want to, but you're more than welcome to.
Motion passes 7-0.
Our next resolution is congratulating the Honorable Michael W. Amdor Memorial Law Library and Miss Lynn M. Morton for being recognized on Law Day, May 2, 2022, with the Omaha Bar Association Public Service Award for service to the public by providing access to the courts and the law. Commissioner Kavanaugh?
I think District Court Administrator Sherry Larson and Deputy Court Administrator Ann Boer are here. If they would come down. And I don't know if Lynn Morton is able to join us here today, but we'll have copies for all of you anyhow. I'd just like to read this resolution. And I want to thank you for your help in putting this together. Thank you. Board of County Commissioners, Douglas County, Nebraska. Whereas the Honorable Michael W. Amdor Memorial Law Library, formerly the Douglas County Law Library, has been selected as the recipient of the Law Day 2022 Omaha Bar Association Public Service Award, and whereas Ms. Lynn M. Morton has served patrons of the Law Library since 1992, and whereas the Law Library was founded in 1911 and has been open to the public in the Hall of Justice since 1979, and provides members of the judiciary, attorneys, and residents of Douglas County with access to legal information, and whereas the Omaha Bar Association Public Service Award recognizes the Honorable Michael W. Amdor Memorial Law Library and Lynn Morton for service to the public related to access to the courts and knowledge of the law, and whereas the Law Library and Ms. Morton represent the theme of the May 2nd, 2022 Law Day celebration towards a more perfect union, the Constitution in times of change, by providing the public with relevant access to the law that governs a free society through times of change. And whereas the board desires to commemorate the library's dedication to serving the Constitution and providing access to the courts throughout 100 years of change. And whereas this board looks forward to continued renovation and technology advancements that will continue to uphold the Constitution and serve patrons for the next century in the Honorable Michael W. Amdor Memorial Law Library. Now, therefore, be it resolved by this Board of County Commissioners, Douglas County, Nebraska, that this board hereby congratulates the Honorable Michael W. Amdor Memorial Law Library and Ms. Lynn M. Morton for being recognized on Law Day, May 2nd, 2022, with the Omaha Bar Association's Public Service Award for service to the public by providing access to the courts and the law, which is one of the hallmarks of a free society. Dated this 26th day of April, 2022.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I'd just like to thank my colleagues, Commissioner Garcia, Friend, and Boyle for co-sponsoring this with me, and note that Commissioner Boyle's father was the commissioner who moved for the designation of the Honorable Michael W. Amdor Memorial Law Library in the early aughts. And I am particularly touched by that and want to thank again the recognition of Judge Amdor's memory. He was a great guy and a brother-in-law, and would have been proud of this recognition of the law library, which I have used many times and look forward to using well into the future. And as late as this morning, one of my colleagues indicated that he needed to consult the law library on a point of law. So it's actually alive and well, and we're looking forward to its continued service to the community. I would ask one or both of you to comment if you'd like relative to this recognition of the law library.
Thank you all very much. Lynn was unable to be here. She had a pre-planned trip. So on her behalf, thank you so much. She is the face of the library. She's the voice and the face that people hear when they come in. But thank you all for your support, for the county support, for the library. It really takes everybody to make it the place that it is to be open. There are people who also sub and work in that library, and everybody's support is much appreciated. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann, for your work on this. It doesn't go unappreciated. And Sherry, thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you for that recognition.
Thank you, Sherry. With that, please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
Next, we have a resolution on the recognition of the following county employee who is retiring. Carol Allensworth, I would ask that you come forward with Lindsay Hughes, the Director of the Health Department. Carol's worked for the Douglas County Health Department for 33 years, and I am going to ask our President of the Board of Health to read the resolution, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Whereas Douglas County, Nebraska recognizes that its employees are the county's most important asset and resource for providing quality service to the citizens of Douglas County. And whereas the county wishes to recognize Carol Allensworth of the Douglas County Health Department on her retirement and dedicated service of 33 years to Douglas County, Nebraska. Now therefore be it resolved by this Board of Commissioners of Douglas County, Nebraska, that the county recognizes Carol Allensworth for her dedicated service to the citizens of Douglas County, and thankfully presents this resolution as testimony, therefore, on this 26th day of April. And before I turn it over, I'm assuming to Dr. Hughes, just note that the Board of Health did recognize Carol last Wednesday, and I said pieces there, but I'll just say publicly, few people get to see Carol as much as they got to see her over the last 2 years. And the thing is, when you don't see her, know that things are taken care of. But I hope that as she walks out, she says she's going to spend a lot of time in South Dakota, which is well deserved to relax. But I hope that everybody that hears this recognizes the debt of gratitude that they owe to her over the last couple of years on particularly the last 2.5 years on the relentless amount of hours to stay ahead of what we dealt with. So I can't say more than that, and I just want to wish her well. And she rests for at least a couple of months before she comes back up in South Dakota.
Is that a motion to approve?
Yes, a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Boyle. Please vote. And Dr. Hughes.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Hughes, Director of Douglas County Health Department. It's been like 9 months since I had to actually say that to you, so that was fun. I am so excited to be able to be here to honor Carol today. I've known about this day for some time, but now that it's here, it seems like it went entirely too quickly. We certainly want Carol to get her rest, and we'll try hard not to have to call her too often, but I'm not going to make that a promise. There are a couple of things I just want you to understand about the importance of the work that Carol does. Data is our cornerstone in public health. If you look at what a physician does from day to day, treating patients, they can't adequately treat a patient unless they have good information to work on. They have to have great assessment skills. They have to be able to gather data. Well, in public health, our patient is the entire community. You can imagine how challenging it can be to gather data on an entire community and to make decisions on that. Carol is one of the very best. We would not have made it through the past 2 years of this pandemic if we hadn't already had a very robust and strong system set up for us to manage surveillance and data and make sure all of those pieces were moving. We would not be where we are. So that is incredibly valuable. Data tells us when we need to move, and it tells us how effective we are at our job. Without Carol having built up such a strong program, we would not know what we needed to do here in Douglas County to take care of our residents. Carol has been overseeing a number of programs, and she built all of this up from just a few people. I've gotten to hear a little bit about the history of her division over the past 33 years, and she really started out with just her and a couple of other people. Now that has expanded to our infectious disease epidemiology program, which also includes tuberculosis control, our STD control program, vital statistics, and she also oversees our preparedness program, which since about 2001 has been a huge lift, extremely important for all communities, and that has all been under her guidance and mentorship. I had the privilege of looking at the public health issues that Douglas County has experienced over the past 100 years or so. I went back to 1988. Carol started with us on August 15th of 1988. And she has overseen the management of well over 150 outbreaks, probably more, considering our data management and our tracking is so much better now because of our access to technology than it was probably in the 80s, but well over 150 outbreaks with multiple people in each of those outbreaks. So you can understand just how many lives she touched even before we ended up in a pandemic. We are so incredibly grateful for the strong foundation that she has given us. She has an amazing team that she has assembled and put together and mentored and led, and she is leaving that fantastic foundation to continue serving Douglas County, and I can't think of a better legacy for someone to leave. We're gonna miss her so much. I'm going to miss the ability to just pop down the hall and really just say, Carol, I need X, and she knows exactly what to do. She knows exactly what to pull. I don't have to explain population denominators or anything like that to her. She just knows. And she is absolutely fantastic and has been an absolute fixture at Douglas County Health Department for many years. And so we're gonna miss you. And I hope you will come back and see us.
I would just like to thank the board because it's been a privilege and an honor, I think, to work with the health department and work for the citizens of Douglas County for the past 3 decades. It's been a busy past 3 decades. In between all of the outbreaks, the pandemics, H1N1 and COVID, our new and emerging infections, MERS, SARS, Zika, chikungunya, so it's been a busy time for us, and we have been, lucky to participate in a number of issues here. I mean, we worked with our city and county partners in addressing the white powder anthrax attacks in 2001. We worked with those partners when the Katrina evacuees came here. You know, it's just been a great ride, let's put it that way. I've really enjoyed my time here. And I want to say that you have back at the office a team of very committed, very experienced, very good public health, you know, professionals. They're ready to lead us into the next 3 decades of whatever public health issues come up. And it's them that I will miss the most because they make, you know, your workplace the best place to be. And I do want to thank the entire board for all of the support that you provided to me and to the Douglas County Health Department, and all of the support that I know that you will be providing to them in the future. So thank you very much, and I wish you all a very nice and hopefully warm summer. Thank you.
Carol. Anyone else wishing to? You know, Carol, before you leave the podium, when I started in 1995, I remember, and you've been under 3 directors, by the way, since that time of your start. And the first thing I worked on you with, along with that's time director Dan Worthing and John Weston, was the making of our Healthy Community Partnership with the area hospitals and insurance companies. And I have to say, I love to brag about it because it is actually one of the community entities from that era where everybody was building these that ours still exist and is still very strong. Taken some changes, but it's doing what we had wanted it to do way back when. And again, you were a part of that creation of that, even if it was in the background with all the data. But again, through your years, you have been a pillar of strength for the department, and you will be missed. But we can't thank you enough for everything that you've done over the years for the health department and for Douglas County. So thank you very much, but enjoy your retirement for sure.
Thank you, and I will.
And then if you could come forward.
Motion passes 7-0.
There you go. Fair and balanced.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna take a couple. 1, 2, 3. Okay, another one. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Me? No.
We have one more recognition, and that is the recognition of the following county employee who is also retiring. Albert Bass worked for Douglas County Corrections for 38 years. So I would ask the Director Myers and Officer Bass to come forward, please. Good morning.
Morning. Good morning. I'm much happier at this moment to be in front of you because this is how things are supposed to go. Before I get into the resolution, I wanted to remark that we had a celebration for Albert last week. Those of you who've come visit through our lobby the last several years, it was probably Sergeant Bass's smiling face that greeted you, and he was always so professional and solved a lot of problems out there. But even before my time, when he was working in different roles, I heard many stories from our staff, who some of them have been retired for years, who came to his celebration last week to talk about how his wisdom, his mentoring, his constant positivity and professionalism helped shape their careers and help them get through and get stabilized in a very challenging profession. And I'm not sure what it takes to work 38 years in this profession, but this man did it, and he did it always with a smile on his face. And I challenged the staff when I spoke last week, because somebody tell me when he had a bad day, and nobody could do that. And so it's a pretty unique individual. We're very happy. We're going to miss him terribly, but very happy for him. And I did have to twist his arm to be here, because he doesn't appreciate this sort of recognition, but he deserves it. Whereas Douglas County, Nebraska recognizes that its employees are the county's most important asset and resource for providing quality service to the citizens of Douglas County. Whereas the county wishes to recognize Albert Bass of the Douglas County Department of Corrections on his retirement and dedicated service of 38 years to Douglas County, Nebraska. Therefore, be it resolved by this Board of County Commissioners, Douglas County, Nebraska, that the county recognizes Albert Bass for his dedicated service to the citizens of Douglas County, and thankfully presents this resolution as testimony thereof, dated the 26th day of April 2022.
Do we have a motion to approve? Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Morgan. Would you like to, please vote?
You can talk if you want.
Would you like to say a few words?
I would just like to say thank you, guys.
You know, Albert, before you leave the podium, or stand right there, but I just wanted, Mike hit it on the nail on the head when he said service with a smile. Because every time I have been over there and seen you, you have the most contagious smile. And for working in a situation that you had to work in for that many years and keeping that smile, it means the world. So thank you so much for your service.
Motion passes 7-0.
And I'm glad you came.
Thank you.
We're going to take a picture, though.
Congratulations.
We're going to get your picture.
If you can just hold that up and open it. Squeeze in, yep, squeeze in a little bit. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. I'll take one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
With that, I would ask for a motion to recess out of the Board of Commissioners, and we'll go back to the Board of, beginning of the agenda of the Board of Equalization. Please vote.
Noted. I'll fix it.
Motion passes. Commissioner, I thought Commissioner Garcia was absent, but anyway, motion passes 6-0.
Approval, item A, approval of the minutes of the Board of, well, actually, let's do roll call first.
Commissioner Boyle.
Here.
Commissioner Kavanaugh. Commissioner Garcia stepped away for a moment. Commissioner Friend.
Here.
Commissioner Morgan. Commissioner Rogers.
Here.
Madam Chair.
Present. Item A, approval of the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held Tuesday, April 12, 2022. And item B, call for a meeting and set Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022 as a date for hearing on certified assessment corrections reflecting the addition of omitted property to the tax rolls or increased value on property. Is there a motion to approve A and B? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Morgan. Questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Citizen comments. Is there anyone in the chamber or on Zoom wishing to speak to the Board of Equalization about an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we will move to resolutions. We have two resolutions, D and E. We have no need for executive session. So do we have a motion to approve D, E, and adjourn? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, seconded by Commissioner Morgan. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
One moment, please. I just want to note for the record, I think the same item ended up showing twice on the screen. So we were voting on D, E, and adjourn, and the motion passes 6-0.
Okay. Next, we will move to the agenda for the Douglas County Board of Corrections. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Boyle. Commissioner Kavanaugh. Commissioner Friend.
Here.
Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Morgan. Commissioner Rogers. Madam Chair.
Present. Item 1, approval of the minutes of the Board of Corrections meeting held Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Friend. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Citizen comments. Is there anyone in the chamber or on Zoom wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to the report from the Director of Corrections. Good morning.
Seems like I was here just a moment ago. Good morning, Commissioners. Michael Myers, Director of Corrections for Douglas County. You have before you our report for the month of March. Turning to enclosure number 1, administrative services. Following the 9th month of the fiscal year, we are $4,840,864 under budget. That amount now includes the ARPA funds, which have been allocated for operating costs and projects which will extend beyond the current fiscal year. These funds will be applied to the upcoming fiscal year to offset the costs of those ongoing expenses. There's $352,637 spent on overtime cost during March, a decrease of nearly $150,000 from the previous month. While we currently do not have enough officers on hand to operate without regular reliance on overtime, we have experienced a reduction in our population, and we were COVID-free during the month of March, both of which contributed to the decreased expenditure on overtime. Enclosure number 2, community corrections and reentry services. The 24/7 sobriety program admitted 91 individuals, and that is, I think, by a significant margin, a record for that program. It is approximately now there are around 450 individuals participating in that program every day who may otherwise have been housed in our jail. There were 4,193 breath tests conducted. 14 were positive for alcohol use, and there were 8 no-shows for breath testing. And the overall compliance rate was 99.9%. There were 49 individuals monitored for a combined total of 1,115 days of SCRAM monitoring, and there were 2 no-shows, 1 tampering violation and 1 alcohol violation, and that compliance rate was also 99.9%. There were 969 drug tests administered, with 124 violations and 53 no-shows. There were 29 drug testing patches submitted for testing, with 1 violation. Work release admitted 15 individuals in March. House arrest admitted 59 individuals. The Reentry Assistance Program admitted 32 individuals, and 1 individual achieved a GED. Reentry services in our therapeutic communities in the jail admitted 147 individuals. That continues to be more and more robust each month. 1 individual also achieved a GED in the jail. Pretrial Services continues to provide regular information to the courts regarding candidates for bond reduction and early pleas in response to the pandemic. There were 23 individuals referred for priority prosecution, which saved 301 bed days. 214 individuals were placed on pretrial release. 1,147 individuals in total were managed on pretrial release with an 83% compliance rate. 104 individuals visited the law library. We have hired 3 pretrial release specialists who are currently undergoing training on all aspects of our enhanced pretrial release supervision program, which will begin in the coming weeks and will be phased in completely over the next few months. Enclosure number 3, compliance. Our regular annual documentation is being collected for all compliance processes. We are preparing for our Prison Rape Elimination Act audit, which will occur later this summer. And I neglected to include that our medical department in March received notice that they had been accredited, or reaccredited by the National Commission for Correctional Healthcare, so that was a major achievement for our medical department as well. Enclosure number 4, personnel. 5 officers below the rank of sergeant left employment in March. Our total loss of officers was 6 when including the loss of Sarah Zimmerman. 3 officers were promoted from CO1 to CO2. 13 officers actually did graduate our training academy last Friday on the 22nd. And we are targeting May 16th to begin our next academy. Enclosure number 5, population. There were 1,396 admissions, which is actually an increase, but our population actually decreased quite a bit over the month. So we had a lot of quick people in turning around quick. There were 1,462 releases. Our high count was 1,063, and our low count was 982. That may be the first time in a decade that we've been under 1,000 people in custody in the jail. Our average daily population was 1,016, and that was a reduction of 61 from the previous month. There were 134 custodial bed sanction days. The U.S. Marshal population decreased. The felony pretrial population decreased. The misdemeanor population decreased slightly. Probation violations increased. And the female population decreased. And we were able, after years of operating 4 female housing units on a routine basis, we were able to operate just 3 for most of the month. Enclosure number 6, medical. There were 1,084 intake screenings. 351 health and physical assessments were conducted. And inmates were sent out 24 times for emergent medical care. 12 of those were by 911. There were 10 hospital admissions, which resulted in 38 days of hospitalization. Enclosure number 7, mental health. There were 153 initial psychiatric assessments, 51 initial mental health assessments, 75 mental health infirmary placements, 148 individuals were placed on drug and alcohol withdrawal protocols. There were 4 referrals made to the Board of Mental Health and 6 transfers to long-term care facilities. Long-term psychiatric facilities. Other noteworthy items: we continue to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. We are fortunate to report that we had 0 known cases of COVID-19 during March among the incarcerated population. We only had 1 staff member who tested positive throughout the month. Our staff vaccination rate remains at approximately 75%. During March in the jail, we administered 51 first doses of Moderna, 16 second doses of Moderna, and 28 booster doses of Moderna. And separately at community corrections, the Douglas County Health Department administered 25 second doses of Moderna. As of April 1st, we had vaccinated 1,600 incarcerated individuals, fully vaccinated 1,600 individuals, and provided boosters to 138 individuals. As there is currently no indication that the federal COVID-19 vaccination mandates will apply to DCDC anytime soon, we will take no further action until necessary. I will no longer report on this for the time being. Since the Douglas County Health Department approved our COVID risk management plan on March 3rd, we have operated in the green level for the balance of the month of March. A risk level of green means we are currently implementing very minimal COVID-related restrictions and precautions. Several risk factors are monitored, which could result in increasing to a yellow or a red level, which progressively increases our amount of restrictions and precautions. After working through a previously unknown obstacle regarding the software, which will support our body-worn camera project, we are ready to launch after a delay of a few weeks. Soon we will be among the first correctional facilities in the nation to have our entire department outfitted in body-worn cameras. This will improve the safety for our staff and will provide greater transparency to the public. The National Institute of Corrections, at our request, visited DCDC to assess our physical plant and practices to identify any safety concerns March 22nd through the 24th. A written report of their findings is expected in a few weeks. And lastly, during the last hour of the last day of March, we tragically lost Sarah Zimmerman in a horrific car accident. Sarah was one of the most perpetually positive, innovative, and dedicated individuals I've ever had the pleasure to work alongside. She was a perfect fit for community corrections, where many of our rehabilitative efforts are concentrated. In fact, many formerly incarcerated people have reached out to us, crediting Sarah with saving their lives during their struggles with addiction, mental illness, and other challenging circumstances. Not only did Sarah have a tremendous impact on the clients of community corrections, she was the first to donate her time and talents when the needs of her coworkers arose. Sarah is the 3rd female officer that we have lost in under a year. She was among the primary organizers of fundraisers for the families of the 2 who preceded her. She is irreplaceable, but we will honor her memory by carrying on the work that she did or performed so gracefully throughout her career. I'm ready for your questions.
Thank you, Director Myers. Commissioner Kavanaugh.
Thank you. Thanks for this. And kudos on the COVID numbers. Those are great. Did you say you would not be reporting going forward on COVID?
Just on the status of the federal vaccine mandate, because there doesn't seem to be any movement that I'm aware of that's ever going to apply to us. So just on that one piece. I have been reporting on that repeatedly for the last several months since that first looked like it was a possibility. Now it doesn't seem like it's going to ever apply to us in any, I can't say ever, but for now it doesn't appear that it's going to apply to us. So I'll just not report on that anymore unless that changes.
Will we get like, just the stat?
You'll get everything else except that little item.
Yeah. So we'll know if there was a COVID case in the population or if there was a
Absolutely.
COVID case on staff.
And we actually, it's not included in this report because we actually just had our first positive COVID case over the weekend in like over 2 months in our incarcerated population. So yes, we'll continue to report on everything else except that.
Great, thanks. On page 3, there is a note that you had long-term psychiatric facility referrals of 6.
Yeah, that is basically people who were going to the Lincoln Regional Center for long-term evaluations and restorations.
Okay, would those be people awaiting trial getting evaluated?
Yes.
Okay. On page 7, you indicate your authorized personnel at 492 and on hand at 433, or 88.0% of authorized. And you pointed out that you lost some people over the month. Is there a class in preparation now?
Yeah, we just had a graduation of 13 officers on Friday, this previous Friday. They are in field training, so for this week and next week, and then they'll be able to absorb some of those excess shifts we have available after their field training is completed. And we are currently building another class, which will tentatively is scheduled to begin on May 16th. And it's a little too early for me to predict how many folks we'll have in that class.
Great. On page 42, you give us the racial breakout of the population. 43.0% black, which is the plurality population, 43% white. I'm sorry, 36.8% white. And majority minority population of about 57%. That might be down slightly from last month, isn't it?
It is down a little bit. Still not where it should be, but it is down a little bit.
Just marginally? I mean, it's still...
Within a few percentage points.
Right. The 24/7 sobriety program that you indicate, I think that's on page 11. Could you just expand a little bit about that?
Sure. So we've been doing the 24/7 sobriety program for several years now. I think maybe it started in 2014, if my memory serves me correctly. Started out as just an alcohol testing program where individuals come, they have to report to us twice a day, every 12 hours for breath tests, 7 days a week, Christmas and holidays included. We also have the ability for individuals whose work schedules or childcare issues or something preclude them from doing that to wear an alcohol monitoring ankle bracelet. So that is another option. A few years after we were doing the alcohol testing, we added drug testing, and we have 2 methodologies for the drug testing. We use saliva swabs. That way we don't have to worry about same-gendered staff and collection of urine and so forth to do drug testing. And we also have, as an alternative, and those are done twice a week randomly. There's a phone number they call, and it'll randomly tell them they have to come in. The alternative for that is patches, which are kind of probably fixed to the back of their shoulder, which they wear for up to 2 weeks. They're tamper evident, so we know if they've been messed with.
Time.
I'll come back.
Commissioner Friend?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mike, it's good to see you and upright.
Thank you.
And thanks for the report. When I was looking through this, a couple of things occurred to me. Could you tell me what percentage of the authorized staffing level, if you go to page 7, you gave us authorized staffing levels for corrections officers, for example, of 349, and right now we have 304 on hand. That's an 87.1% of authorized staffing levels. Can you tell me what percent takes you out of the critical area, or the area that you're comfortable with? I mean, I'm assuming the 87.1% is not a comfort level for you in the corrections department.
No, I mean, it results in, that number results in a significant amount of overtime.
Right.
And, which is at a cost, obviously, to Douglas County. And it also contributes to the longevity of our staff, which basically makes it sort of a self-defeating cycle that we get on. If you burn people out, they inevitably at some point may need to look for another opportunity, and then we're that much shorter, and puts that much more stress on those who remain. We would very much like to close that gap, to get into the high 90s, at least to the mid 90s. I think that would take a lot of pressure off. We've done some things to pare down some posts currently, which have has a different sort of cost to us, but those are decisions we've made in the interest of our staff, and to alleviate most of the ordered overtime. What we really want to get to is where people are only working the overtime that they wish to work, and not the overtime that we tell them they have to work.
Okay, well, and based on what you're dealing with as far as current turnover rates on average over the last few months, for example, would the current class and the next class, would you estimate that in relation to authorized staffing levels that will take us into those 90s numbers?
It would take
based on what we've been dealing
Sure.
with as far as turnover?
I wouldn't predict that.
All right.
That quickly, because actually the 13 who graduated are included in this 87% for our
All right.
correctional officers.
Okay.
So they will start providing relief to the other staff after their field training is done. Our classes have probably been approximately half the size of what we were historically used to over the past 12 to 18 months, since the labor market really tightened up. And I would say, for the last 3 or 4 months, maybe we've been treading water. I don't think we haven't really gained or lost. However, throughout the course of 2021, we just kind of had this slow bleed of attrition that put us behind again.
Well, the final thing I was going to ask, Mike, are we getting our hands around the impact of lateral hires from other corrections departments and also from the state? I mean, because that's been something that
Sure.
we've been a little bit concerned about.
Yeah, we have lost a few individuals so far that to other agencies. We historically have been the recipient of individuals coming from some of those other agencies to work for us. So that I'm not sure how much of our more recently hired staff. I know in our last class, I know we at least still had one individual who came from the state. So that is still happening, but not to the extent that it was.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Commissioner Kavanaugh?
Thanks. Back to the average daily population number, which is, again, good news, at 1,016, and you pointed out for the first time in a long time, a decade, below 1,000 at one point. And what I'm looking for is possible connections between some of the diversion programs and some of the population numbers. Is there one?
I've given that some thought too. Obviously, in the past, I haven't really been able to dig into the research on to figure that out. I can't promise you it's a true or accurate statement, but one could infer that the increased numbers in 24/7, those are people who are out on pretrial being supervised. you know, those, we had a big month for that program, and at the same time, we had our population decrease. There may be some connection between those two. I'm sure there is, at least to a certain extent. Whether it explains the entirety of the reduction of population, I doubt I can attribute that to only one intervention. But you know, we have a lot of interventions, and I think collectively they do have an impact to stem the tide of our population, regardless of what level it's at.
So I think folks are very interested in this particular aspect because lowering the population has a lot of benefits, not the least of which it costs less to incarcerate fewer people. But I guess going forward, if we could look at that and maybe try to find some metrics, because we're always looking at programs that we invest in and whether or not there's bang for the buck. So I guess my question would be, the initial number, if you were looking at this as a conveyor belt of individuals who come into the system, would be an arrest incarceration number. So
Right.
has that number fluctuated? And I don't know if we reflect that in our graphs.
I don't know that there might be a graph in there.
You know what I'm
but
talking about?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. So we, you know, and I was kind of surprised because I knew our population had been dropping, and when I got the report from our admissions manager who puts together our population report for us, I was surprised to see that in the face of a reduction of our ADP by over 60, we had over 200 more people come to jail.
Okay.
At the same time in the same, you know, in March than in February. So.
and that's the original arrest number.
Correct. Yeah.
So the arrest number was up, but the ADP, average daily population, was
correct.
down.
So the courts, you know, there was some effectiveness of getting people turned around in the system pretty quickly during March.
Right. That's very interesting. It would maybe help if we knew that, you know, that arrest number coming in, and I don't know, is that reflected in here?
There is, yes. In my summary, as well as in the population report.
I look at the population report and it's got, you know, it looks like just.
So if you look, I think it's better, I think I have it a little more clear in the
Okay.
summary on page 2 at the bottom. It starts out with admissions. So that's the, you know, the.
Admissions?
Yeah. On page 2, enclosure number 5.
I'm sorry, say, what page?
Page 2 on enclosure,
Oh, page
enclosure
2.
number 5.
Page 2 on the whole document?
Correct. Correct.
Of his summary.
The front letter cover.
Right, right. So that's 1396.
Correct. That was like 200 and some higher than the previous month.
That's very interesting. So there's, you know, basically a 300 and some differential between
Right.
that and our average
1
daily
minute.
population.
Right.
We'll talk some more about this, but that potentially is, again, good news.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And my condolences again to the corrections family for your losses.
I appreciate everybody's support that we've gotten from the board and the community during this time.
No other lights are on. Thank you, Mike, and I also want to extend a thank you to the Color Guard for being here today. That meant a lot to not only us, but the families as well, so thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
With that, we do not have need for an executive. Oh, wait, there was a hand up on Zoom. Hang on a minute, Mike. Sorry about that. Mr. Zalazar?
Good morning. Can
Good
you hear me
morning.
okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
You went over the citizen comment section so fast, Ms. Borgeson, that I did want to provide some information on some activities in South Omaha that might be invaluable to the commissioners.
Sure, go ahead. I'll give you 5.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, a lot of folks know me as a community advocate, and as a community advocate in South Omaha for over 32, 33 years now. It's my privilege, really, and a blessing that folks in South Omaha sometimes rely on me for advice, counsel, and some guidance with their projects. So there's a couple of projects that have been under-publicized, but are very important and vibrant, nonprofit-led community efforts that are ongoing. Some just started recently, and I'd like to give you a little bit of an update on some of these because they will grow. They are growing now. The first is the Latino Medical Academy, headed and organized by my good friend and colleague, Celine Espinoza, who's a surgical assistant at CHI. The program is, in fact, grant funded by CHI and assisted by the Latino Center of the Midlands. Celine started with 6 students last summer in her first class, which she prepped by actually taking them to various clinics, doctor's office, hospitals, to open their eyes and awareness to the medical professions. From that first class, we arranged a partnership with Metro for their CNA program. So the first class graduated this March. Her next class went from 6 students. Her next class is 33 students. A huge increase in the number of students that when they graduate will also go to Metro for their CNA and be assured of a job at CHI. That's one effort that's underway. The other thing that I was happy to participate in is a new partnership between PACE, the athletic program for youth, and Metro. And that is a summer academy in the trades for youth. Soon to be Sheriff Greg Gonzalez and I met with Randy Schmazel a couple of weeks ago, and we made that arrangement between PACE and Metro. So the academies will begin this summer, and conversations, talks are underway to get that started. I think that program has the potential to branch off beyond a summer academy into more trades training, especially in South Omaha. Another program is another colleague and associate of mine, Blanca Mejia's Generation Diamond. And on her behalf, I would like to thank the county for providing her with some funding recently, whereby she will able to enlarge her facility and continue providing essential services to folks who often don't get direct services, such as the homeless, the needy, the reentry. In South Omaha, she provides an invaluable service, and as of late, I believe she is serving well over 12 or 1,300 people per month. That's Generation Diamond. There's a couple of others that are still being organized that I have a hand in. So in addition to my work with the health department, these are some of the things that I have a direct hand in, have been asked to provide some assistance. I'm very proud to do that. But some of these programs will grow, and you'll be hearing more from us in South Omaha about these programs soon. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Salazar. With that, we do not have need for an executive session. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion by Commissioner Friend, seconded by Commissioner Rogers. Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
We'll now go back to the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. Is there a motion to reconvene?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Morgan. Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
And let's do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Boyle? Here. Commissioner Kavanaugh? Here. Commissioner Friend?
Here.
Commissioner Garcia? Here. Commissioner Morgan? Commissioner Rogers? Here. Madam Chair.
Present. Item A, approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held Tuesday, April 12, 2022. And item B, approval of claims submitted for payment process through Tuesday, April 26, 2022. Is there a motion to approve A and B? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Morgan. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next is our consent agenda, items A through P, please note, we are pulling F out of the consent agenda. So it would be A through P minus F. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, seconded by Commissioner Morgan. Any questions or comments?
Just a quick
Quick,
item K, a resolution approving Amy Hasse to the Transit Authority Board of Directors. I want to commend her for her public service on this important board, and note proudly that she's a constituent of my district. Thanks.
please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Citizen comments. Is there anyone in the chamber or on Zoom wishing to speak to the board about an item not on the agenda?
Thank you. Larry Storr, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. Guess we're doing a little house cleaning today. I'd like to do some of my own. Once again, on the Open Meetings Act, I'd like to refer to last week's Douglas County Board of Health meeting as a very good example of the intent of an Open Meetings Act to provide to citizens a reasonable attempt to be there, to hear, to see, and to make comments. The rules there are a little bit different. They're maybe allow a citizen 3 minutes. But I want to start off with, first of all, access to the meeting. The public notice of that meeting was not necessarily very well put out there. Secondly, the average citizen that's younger than I am, maybe, can't get into that building very easy. Got a parking problem, or they have to walk. What about people that are my age or older? Do they have to strain and to even find a place, for example? This building was open. This chamber was open. Why didn't you have the meeting here? Very small elevator. Somebody that had a chair probably wouldn't have got up there. I was late because I thought it was going to be here. Nobody knew where the meeting was. Nobody heard of the meeting, even in the office of the county commissioners. When I did get there, couldn't see anything. Very small room, great big TV monitors like that, blocking view. Couldn't hear anything. Mr. Rogers' microphone was maybe off, or he wasn't sitting anywhere near it. I don't know. There was very little room behind me for other citizens to attend. People who have crutches probably wouldn't have made it either. I think the current set of rules on your website for the Board of Health says a citizen can comment on every item on the agenda. Your rules here say maybe not on the agenda. Well, I tried to bring up the Open Meetings Act, which was not on the agenda. Okay? According to the rules. It wasn't on the agenda. That's why I brought it up. But I was again interrupted by Mr. Rogers there as sort of being out of order, not according to his rules. The Open Meetings Act calls for reasonable rules. All of those things I just said are not necessarily reasonable rules. Therefore, I am calling for the Douglas County Attorney and the Nebraska Attorney General to come to this body and have an open presentation and discussion, two-way, which, you know, who said that you cannot talk with a citizen? You cannot engage a citizen. Who said that? Is that constitutional? Is that even constitutional under the Nebraska Constitution? You interpret the rules differently than I do, because the way I read the Open Meetings Act, the intent is for public access to their elected bodies. Not for you to restrict us, but you've been trying to do that for a lot of years. I go back to June of 2020 when I started asking about the Open Meetings Act and trying to get you to engage on it, but nobody would listen. I sent emails to your body. I requested to be put on the agenda. Everybody else gets to. But we don't get to discuss the Open Meetings Act. I think it's time for that before some of you are up for election again, so that we can take back our government. How do you like that? You gonna call me out of order? I left the meeting because I couldn't hear the meeting. I couldn't hear the chairman of the board. Technology was not working. It was not accessible for the public. It was not easy. It couldn't be heard. I was not allowed to speak, but Mr. Salazar was, because he was on Zoom. I don't get to talk during the meeting, but he did because he was on Zoom. He gets to raise his hand and say, I want to make comments. But I didn't because I was not on Zoom. I'm sorry, folks. This needs to be on the agenda. I've requested my commissioner to see that it does get on the agenda. And if I don't object at these meetings, I guess I don't have any standing, do I? Thank you. I don't intend to sue you. I don't want to spend my money or your money or the taxpayers' money. I should not have to. Don't you get it? Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak to the board about an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we will move to a presentation. We have the annual State of Tourism presentation by Director Deborah Ward from Visit Omaha. And Commissioner Boyle, did you want to make any opening comments?
Yeah, I just thought it was important to have Deb come and speak to what visiting the tourism board is up to and what we have coming down the road here. So with that, if you don't mind sharing with us what's going on.
Thank you, Commissioner Boyle, and good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
In honor of National County Government Month, I think we speak every April, so you get a little gift of appreciation from us at your seats. Just a quick note, that's part of a brand new incentive campaign that as out-of-town visitors come in and they visit at least 3 partner attractions, they can come to the visitor center and get a free water bottle. So there you get a little treat for that. I'd also like to introduce my team that's with us today. We've got 2 levels of teams. We've got our Vice President of Marketing, Jasmine Goodwin, our Vice President of Operations, Dean Miller, our Vice President of Sales, Kathy Keller, our Director of Sales, Maddie Sheeter, and our Director of Sports, Mark Rath. And when I used to sit over there and the director would say, I could not do it without them, I would say, oh, whatever. I'm telling you, you cannot do it without them. All right, where's the mouse? Can I do the mouse up here? Okay. All right, how is this for a turnaround? Last year we were showing you that hotel revenue had declined by 51%. In 2021, hotel revenue was still behind 2019 by about $18 million, but it is clear that recovery is evident. Now, these numbers represent the number of meetings and events held in 2021 compared to 2020, a nice 154% increase, as we would hope, since most of the meetings in 2020 were canceled due to COVID. Sporting events were crucial to the recovery. The U.S. Olympic swim trials, albeit pared down, still brought $35 million to the community, a record-breaking College World Series, the U.S. Senior Open, and the U.S. Olympic curling trials all play into these numbers. In addition, our team helped secure another $39 million in youth sporting events for the year, over $30 million just in youth volleyball. Thank you, Mark Rath. Understand normally we are working 3 to 5 years ahead of time to secure business for Omaha, but in 2021 our team really had to focus on short-term business to fill in the gaps left behind by the COVID uncertainty, and youth sports certainly did the trick. But as you can see, COVID still had an impact in 2021. 48 meetings and events canceled, and we lost more than $34 million in business, mostly convention business. Meeting planners were still skittish due to the unknowns and the constant up and downs with the pandemic. But just because COVID was still impacting the convention and event business in 2021, that didn't mean our team stopped selling. In fact, in 2021, we secured 114 meetings and events for future years that will bring more than $95 million into our community. We also continue to advertise in key regional drive markets to increase leisure travel in the city and the county, mainly in Kansas City, Des Moines, Sioux Falls, and Minneapolis, with a small test campaign in Chicago, which I'll mention in a second. Since business travel and convention meeting travel were significantly down, leisure travel led the recovery. Our advertising appeared on television, streaming television, radio, digital, and social media more than 52 million times during 2021. The television commercials alone reached 80% of our targeted market, our targeted audience, at least 10 times. The call to action on all of these commercials was to go to visitomaha.com and plan your trip. Website visits were up 117% from our targeted markets, with more than 600,000 web page views from the folks targeted with the ads. We really took a layered approach to our advertising strategy. Television, radio, social, and digital ads were layered throughout the year. And one of the multimedia strategies involved a promotion through a company called Epsilon. They are a digital platform that can track actual visitation and spending by customers reached by Visit Omaha advertising. So it can track if you saw an ad and then later came into the city and spent money. So results show that 55,000 people who saw a Visit Omaha ad online only traveled to Omaha and spent $12.5 million while they were here. So if you're doing the math, we spent $355,000 on this part of the campaign. So if you're doing the math, for every dollar we spent, $35 was spent here in the city and the county by people visiting. We were also able to grow our social media audience. We have close to 200,000 social media followers. That's up about 4% in 2021. These are valuable assets since they choose to follow Omaha, and then we can promote to them throughout the year. In 2021, we focused on creating new video content to share on all our platforms, and as you can see, we saw double-digit increases in the number of Instagram and YouTube followers because of it. One of the biggest challenges that we had in 2021 was volunteer retention. Volunteers staff our Omaha Visitor Center at 10th and Farnham, and due to the pandemic, we lost about 50% of our 72 volunteer ambassadors. They didn't feel comfortable coming back. To address the loss, visitor center hours were reduced. We also created an incentive program designed to reward existing visitors who brought somebody on board or worked extra hours. So that has helped. They still managed to help 17,000 visitors come through the 3 visitor center. We have 2 at the airport and 1 at 10th and Farnham. We have now expanded the hours. We're now open Tuesday through Sunday, so everything's gotten a little bit better. In many respects, 2021 felt like that never-ending road trip, for that nagging question in the back. When are we going to get there? When are we going to get there? When are we going to get there? It looks like we're almost there. So that's good. In fact, research projects that Douglas County hotel occupancy in 2022 will be just shy of 2019 numbers. Even more encouraging is that research shows Douglas County hotel revenue will likely reach $245 million, exceeding 2019 numbers by $26 million. That is good news for the Douglas County Improvement Fund for next year. However, inflation and increased labor costs are making it more expensive for hotels to operate, making profitability for the hotels an ongoing challenge in 2022. And that's why we advocated that some of the city's ARPA dollars go to help hotels recover. A total of $7 million was made available to Douglas County hotels. And of the 68 hotels that were eligible, 46 submitted applications, and we're hoping that money will be distributed within the month. I have dry mouth. Our sales team in 2022 will continue to sell our city with focus on Chicago and DC, 2 cities with the highest concentration of meeting planners. With all of the development changes, we have a whole new city to sell. And so one of our goals is to have 40 site visits. We know that if we can get people into the city, we can sell them. We can close more business that way. With the new sporting facilities, and we've also restructured our team with an added emphasis on the sports market, with new sporting facilities such as Tranquility. Thank you so much. What a sweetheart you are. With new sporting facilities such as Tranquility Park and MD West and Elkhorn on the horizon, we want to capitalize on the youth sporting events and all of the money those types of events bring into our community. We are expanding our advertising efforts to reach an even larger audience. As mentioned earlier, we did a test campaign in Chicago. The results were promising. Research shows that Chicago residents are interested in visiting Omaha. They just need more information. And so we're going to add Chicago as one of our main target markets in 2022. And the beauty of that new media I was talking to you about, we can now afford to advertise in those larger markets such as Chicago. We also plan to use billboards and other out-of-home products that will put our Omaha messaging in grocery stores, airports, ride shares, bus stops, maybe even the L train. We will also continue to use that Epsilon product that I mentioned before to track results. And to provide a fresh approach, we are refreshing our messaging to key in on something that a lot of people are looking for, new experiences that surprise them, and to remind folks that you don't find hidden gems by looking in obvious places, and that sometimes the best experiences come out of nowhere. So those commercials will be coming out in June. Look for those in those emails, those quarterly emails that we send you. In closing, best 2 words ever, right? We want to share with you our organization's guiding principles that have helped us navigate the pandemic and we believe will serve us well in the future. We strive to be relevant, meaning we are committed to being consistent, accountable, transparent, perseverant, and dedicated to excellence. We want to be innovative. We're committed to being creative, pioneering, collaborative, and problem solving. And we want to be grateful. And you see that grateful pillar is a little bit thicker. We are committed to being appreciative of both the big and the small contributions that make our industry and our organization valuable to the community. On that note, we want to say thank you for your unwavering support of tourism throughout the years. We're very grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deb and Commissioner Boyle.
Yeah, just a couple things. Again, thank you for that report, Deb. We really appreciate all the work that all of you do for us. Of course, it's a critical thing that we need to bring tourists to the area. I'm also very impressed with the fact that you're able to turn direction. For example, just seeing that a lot of the money is starting to come from these youth sports programs. It's like to turn direction for something like that. I think all of us know that kids are just getting more and more, those teams are getting more and more popular. So to do that, it just shows that you have some vision for that. And I think that we really need that. So I do appreciate that.
Thank you.
I do have a question, of course, has to do with the swim trials. We heard they're not going to be here next year, and you probably thought that question would come up. So just thoughts on that, and then any other markets to, or I should say, types of organizations to market to, so that they try to bring their business here?
Swim trials. It was disappointing, absolutely. Not entirely unexpected. When you put on such a great show that Omaha did and you get a sold-out crowd, it's not unusual that USA Swimming would be looking for a larger venue in a larger city. It would bring in more tickets, more sales, more eyes on the prize. So disappointing, but we're working on other things. And I think, as we said, we are restructured our sales department, and we now have a director of sports, and that's been going to be crucial. You guys probably all with kids have all traveled with sporting teams, and you know how much money that brings in. Yeah. And with the new development with Tranquility and MD West on the horizon, absolutely that's going to be key. And we're focused on that.
Is there any way, just from cooperation between city, county, and other organizations, to figure out how to create the facilities that will draw those types of groups here? I mean, do you have ideas on that?
I think these two fields especially are going to be especially important as we look to the future. I think, and then just the sheer development going on in the city. Truly, we have a brand new city to sell, and we haven't had. I mean, I've been here at the Bureau for 15 years. The Riverfront Park, the Luminarium, the Steelhouse, the streetcar, everything going out west. I mean, there's just a brand new city to sell.
All right. Well, thanks again for everything you do.
Thank you.
Commissioner Morgan.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation, what your team is doing and done. This weekend will be a big event for Omaha and a great focus, and I thought it's worth mentioning because it'll be strong after a couple of years of less. The Berkshire Hathaway.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. Yes. big event. In fact, I think it was Reuters or Market Watch, we did an interview with them. I said, we've been lonely for 2 years.
Right.
You know, we've been lonely on that first weekend in May. So it'll be nice to have folks back representing that, yeah.
Should be a great weekend. And hopefully our weather is, the winds are slowly fading away.
I can't
we hope.
control that, but yeah.
So, thank you again,
you.
and your team.
Thank you.
Commissioner Friend?
Deb, thanks for the information and the swag. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Hey, can you shed some light? I'm a firm believer, and I think I'm guessing a lot you guys are too, that the free market really drives a lot of perpetual and intermittent, dollars into the community. I mean, it just does. When my kids were young, we had fun in Omaha and we did different things, but when my wife and I were going to spend $1,500, we'd go to Worlds of Fun, we'd go to Adventureland. Can you share with us something on the horizon where there's some developers saying, you know what, we need, the intermittent stuff is great, and the College World Series is super, we never want to lose that, but the perpetual stuff that goes anywhere from 240 to 365 days a year, and you've got a guy and a gal with 3 little kids sitting in Red Oak, and they go, we're going to Omaha for 4 days, and we've got $3,000 to spend. Can you?
I think that the development that I've mentioned earlier is a huge catalyst for that. If you think about the riverfront, an urban beach, the Kiewit Luminarium, this is a riverfront park like no other, and I think that in itself will draw people. The zoo is constantly, creating new experiences, and all of those things. I mean, we've got the Bob Carey Bridge. That is one of the top attractions that people come into. They just want to stand in 2 states. It's just amazing that the different experiences that we have that we sell to those folks.
That's good. I didn't forget about the zoo. I've been there so often.
We become a little bit, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deb.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Commissioner Kavanaugh?
Thanks, and thanks for this, Deb. It looks like we're on our way back. I was wondering, on the graphics that you showed us on the PowerPoint, where you have an 89% increase in hotel revenue 2021 over 2020. What was the 2019 number? Because I gotta think we took a big hit in 2020.
Right. 2019 number. Yeah, it was about, I think it was 18, when I say $18 million. We were just shy in 2021.
Well, in 2020, you show 106 million and change. In 21, you show 201 million.
Right.
A significant rebound. I'm interested in the 2019 pre-COVID number. I don't expect you to have it on the top of your head.
Here it is. In 2021, hotel revenue was still behind 2019 numbers by 18 million. So it was about 220 million.
In 2019?
Yeah.
220 million.
About. I can get you the exact numbers. I probably
Right.
rounded a little bit.
So we're not quite back to pre-COVID, but
No, but we're
there.
close.
Yeah, that's a big jump. That's a big jump. We're just trying to calculate the impact of COVID on our local for-profit industry, and then hotels are a big part of that.
And one of the big things with the hotels is for 2 years, they had no, 1.5, 2 years, they had really no significant income, and they utilize a percentage of that to work on their hotel properties. They have to improve the product. They have to constantly remodel. And so our product took a hit. And that's why we're hopeful that ARPA money will be used to help that product come back.
Absolutely where I'm going with this. So that's about a 50% impact, 19 to 20, on just this one sector of the for-profit. And we've given no ARPA relief so far to pretty much the entire private business sector in our community. We need to take a look at that. But this is a big part of that, is just.
And that's what we did. We are giving ARPA money. We've got a.
No, I understand you as the.
The city.
Yes, but the larger business community beyond the hotel thing has received nothing from ARPA. So we're looking at that, and these metrics give us a good example, because if it happened in the hotel industry, it happened in the food and beverage industry. It happened in the personal service industry. It happened across the board. And we're just trying to capture what that impact was. So thank you.
No other questions or comments? Again, it's always nice having you here and
Thank you.
giving the information to us, but also nice seeing you all. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Keep
Thank
up
you for
that
the
good
water.
work with the sports stuff.
Basic human needs, water.
Yes, that's right. All right. Bye-bye. With that, we have a public hearing for Class C 124830 license, a beer, wine, distilled spirits on and off sale for Sonlit Investments. And the applicant is Jill Mikulski of Waterloo. She is here. This is the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak during the public hearing? Hello?
Hello.
Did I pronounce that right? Sonlit?
Sunlit, yeah.
Okay, good. Anyone here wishing to speak during the public hearing? Okay, did you want to say anything at all? No? Okay.
Me too.
Then I will close the public hearing, and what is the will of the board?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Rogers, seconded by Commissioner Morgan. Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right.
Good luck.
Next is the committees. The first is Finance, the budget report as presented. And then we have the monthly let's try that again. Monthly fee report from the clerk as presented. We do have two ARPA funding. The first is approval of a resolution approving payment for ARPA funding to the Building Commission for COVID-19 related cleaning of county offices and departments in the amount of $36,521.38. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Morgan. Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
The next ARPA is a $50,000 to the Education Rights Council for a program which provides mental health counseling services to families of special education students. This is adding funding to the April 5th, 2022 board resolution request. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Morgan, second by Commissioner Rogers. Please vote.
Commissioner Kavanaugh. Motion passes 7-0.
Under Human Resources, we have the weekly personnel report from Civil Service as presented. And then we have the legislative report, which got us to the end of last week and their adjournment on April 20th. But our lobbyists will be here next week to give us a full report for the legislative session. With that, we do have need for an executive session for legal advice, litigation, and personnel.
What's to go in executive session?
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Morgan. Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0. Motion passes 6-0. Commissioner Friend is absent. We are adjourned at 11:44 a.m.